Hi, my name is Pran. I work for the Red Pen as an admissions counselor. We help stellar applicants find a university or a program where they can excel and be extremely happy. For example, today we have Shubhangi. Shubhangi, be welcome.
Hi, Puran.
We're going to start with, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Okay, so I graduated in 2019 in a chemical technology institute. But from there, I decided that I wanted to get into business side of things. I started out as a business analyst and currently grew into my role as an associate product manager at Roku.
Cool. All right. Tell me, why did you apply to business school?
So I have about 3.5 years of experience right now. I will have 4 years of experience when I go into business school. I thought this was the right time for me because I am young enough to sort of learn, go back to classroom and put that sort of an effort, while I also have some experience where I can contribute to my class. So I felt like this is the ideal time.
You're right. So I went back a little bit later than you, and it was definitely difficult to get back in the habit of like studying and waking up early and doing these assignments. And I also agree with you that, especially studying for the GMAT, like once you've been in the workforce for like 7 to 10 years, it's more difficult.
Yeah.
But
And I think for me personally, I always enjoyed working more than studying. So I knew I had to do it soon, or else it's not going to happen at all.
yeah. Actually, one thing that I recommend a lot of applicants do is like when you're a senior in college or within the first 2 years, just do the GMAT. The score is
Yeah.
valid for several years and it puts a clock. Okay, now I have to apply before my GMAT score expires, and I feel like that's perfect.
Yeah, I actually did that. So in my final year, I gave the GRE and I gave it twice, and I really struggled with the GRE. I tried to give it again. I had a score of 326, but I thought that maybe I should get above 330. So I tried to give it again, but I just couldn't get above 326. So I thought I have to do something different, and I started preparing for the GMAT. And luckily, I got a good score in the first attempt as well.
Cool. I guess that's an interesting question. So, which one did you feel was easier and why between GRE and GMAT?
Yeah, so I did this research quite extensively, the GRE versus GMAT, mainly because I was not able to score in GRE at all over a certain point. And the conventional wisdom is that if you've prepared for the GRE, then you give the GRE again, because for GMAT, you're starting from scratch again, right? But I felt that after a certain point, I was just not able to take my verbal score in GRE above 160, because they test you a lot on the vocabulary skills that you have. And there are certain words that we, especially in India, never use in our common language. And it was getting really difficult for me to master those skills and perform in the test. On the other hand, I felt GMAT was a test of grammar, and that was something I could do. I mean, I learned the rules for sentence correction, and I actually had a good verbal score. I got a 42 on verbal, and I think that really helped take my score to 750.
You're right. I also felt the same way that GMAT while it is a grammar test, of course, there's actually a few strategies.
Yeah.
So I personally saw a 60-point jump in my GMAT within the course of about 6 weeks. So just like I learned one strategy at a time, and my verbal overtook my math because I got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the key. When you can ace GMAT through those strategies. I'm sure there must be something out there for GRE as well, but I just couldn't get it.
Yeah, and I got the impression that at least from the little bit of GRE prep I did, I agree. The vocabulary just felt like you're just logging, you're just learning or like memorizing it. So
Yeah, I think there are this reading comprehensions which are common to both, but the reading comprehensions in GMAT are a little bit more logical. I think what they're testing is how you think, and that the given information, what the given information says. So I think it's easier to sort of understand, whereas in GRE, they are testing your critical thinking abilities, but also your vocabulary. So the passage itself is really, really difficult to understand. And I think that really affected my score.
Yeah, perfect. That's a really good analysis of the two exams. Thank you.
Mm.
Cool. So it sounds like after you finished the exams, can you tell me sort of how you planned your journey from exam to submission? Like what did you do in that entire time frame? Yeah.
Right. So I gave my GMAT in July, and I think LBS had a deadline of around 9th September, round one. So I had like about 2 months left. I'll be honest, I should have actually started earlier. After my GMAT, I was just so exhausted. I took a 2 week break. And I think I lost out on some time there because I was planning to apply to more schools in round one, but I couldn't do it because I was so focused on LBS. In that 1 month, I think I connected to like 20, 25 different alumni. I spoke to them about their experiences. I attended like 5 or 6 webinars that were conducted by LBS. That took up a lot of time thinking about my post MBA goals and how I want to write my essay. What are the things that I want to highlight in my experience? Moreover, in my extracurricular activities, there were quite a few things. Like I'm a dancer, and I've done some social work in college. So how do I place those things in my application? Strategizing. I think it just took that entire month, and I was not left with any time to actually research other schools. So yeah, I think planning ahead and maybe finishing your test by May would be one suggestion that I would like to give future applicants.
Phenomenal. I'm so glad you said, because sometimes it's better to hear from your peers than from a counselor.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. I think it's great to have gotten the tests done by like April, May. And then the second the essays are announced, you can just focus on the essays. And
Yeah.
as you said, it does take 2 months to really like apply to a school. And I love what you did, which is attend multiple webinars from the school, speak to all the alumni that you can get a hold of. And like, can you maybe tell me a few of the questions you asked them, or what did you learn during that process that helped you in the application?
Yeah, so I think the first round of reaching out to alumni, I was just asking them general questions about the highlight of their LBS experience and what was in their mind when they applied, what are the post MBA goals, what are the opportunities that LBS MBAs get, and how difficult or easy it is to after an LBS MBA for an international student. But then gradually, as I started getting more information, my questions got a little bit more refined. I also started looking up at different clubs, and there was this particular club that I really liked, which was the Foodies Club. And I was very interested in that. So I reached out to the board members of the club and spoke to them that what do they plan to do this year and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I actually wrote all of those things in my essay. So I think it's very important to also show to the AdCom what you intend to do at LBS through the clubs and the other events that are there.
Yes, Shubhangi, you've done so many best practices that I want to make sure everyone realizes, which is, yes, like genuinely research what you want to do at that school. And you're right, like go at first the questions with alumni and like superficial, but you're answering the basic stuff. And then you went more specific to find out exactly what the club does, and that's exactly what I feel like a lot of applicants don't do. They kind of look at the website and say, okay, food club, okay, chalo, put this in my essay. But I love how you went deeper and deeper and deeper and found the answers. And I really want to compliment you on pursuing your passions, because that's what matters, right?
Right.
You are going to spend a decent amount of your life at this school. And it's very important to say, like, how am I actually going to enjoy my life be outside of the classroom?
Yeah.
Compliments to you there. Cool. Tell me if you have any advice for future applicants, what would that be?
So I think I think one thing that gets really underestimated is the school research bit, and not just the schools that you've already decided that you want to go for, but even the others. Because I didn't have a lot of time, so I think I had to curtail a little bit on that. But I think it's really important to look at all the different schools that you are targeting. If you're thinking of the US or the UK, just get like 5 to 6 schools, or for US, maybe even more, the top 10, 20 schools, and speak to the alumni of all the schools. Just spend that time understanding what is the culture of the school, because it's very important to know whether you are going to be a fit there or not. If you go there and then you don't enjoy, then there's no point. So we need to really give that time to school research. And I think it would take about a month or two, which is why it is a good idea to finish your GMAT earlier, because otherwise it just gets too tight, especially for people who are doing this along with the job.
Yeah. And then you mentioned a good point, culture fit. What do you, and how would you define that to someone who's new to the process? You know?
So I think once you connect with like 5 or 6 alumni, you sort of get an understanding of how the students are in that particular school. And if you can relate to them, or if you are one of them, I think that's a very organic process. And you can sort of understand that only after you have spoken to a few alumni. If you speak to one or two, you won't be able to make that out. And that is why it's important, because if you intend to speak to 10 alumni of, say, 25 different schools, that's going to take some time.
And did you just reach out to them via LinkedIn or use your network? Like, how did you find these alumni?
Yeah, I reached out to them on LinkedIn. I actually didn't know anyone from LBS. So I actually reached out to everyone on LinkedIn. But I was also researching other schools, and I had one of my college seniors go to Yale SOM. So I did speak to him and a couple of others who went to ISB, just to know what their MBA experience was like. Uh, but for LBS specifically, it was all on LinkedIn. I think I've messaged like over 100 people.
You know what though? Some of these skills you've learned during the admissions process, whether it's like, the right narrative, whether it's writing your essays, or finding people on LinkedIn that can help you, advise you. These are the skills actually you will use almost every day when you go to business school. It's almost like the MBA preface is a mini orientation to what the actual MBA is going to be. So yeah, I wonder if they designed that intentionally.
Maybe. But yeah, I think it's a really long process, and I think by the time you just hit the submit button, you're just happy that it's submitted.
Yeah.
The tension of getting selected comes in much later, but you're just happy that, okay, I was able to submit the application on time.
Yeah. Now, any advice on the interview process and how you prepared for that?
So for the interview process, I think it's very important to read your application thoroughly end to end and know what you've actually put in, because you don't want to go there and say something which contradicts what you have written. But apart from that, I would say, of course, do a few mocks, prepare with people, but don't take a lot of stress, because it's going to be a normal conversation. Just think, at least for the LBS interview, it was very relaxed for me. And my interviewer actually asked a lot of questions, things that I couldn't have ever prepared for. So she went really into deep into understanding what I want to do, why I want to do, and why I want an MBA from LBS. So I think it's important to be relaxed. You don't want to be very nervous. Just read your application and be confident.
Perfect. All right. And then the last question, how did the red pen help you during this process?
So I actually have applied to master's programs before for business analytics. So I was aware of the process of how it is, the application format, and the GRE and the GMAT bit. But I think TRP really helped me change my perspective. Even when I applied before, I never did the kind of school research that I did now, because a lot of emphasis was put on it. And the kind of materials that you submit to TRP for review, I think there's a lot of focus on it, on details being there. So your research really has to be thorough. Otherwise, you'll not be able to come up with anything that gets approved. So I think that discipline and how to approach the application correctly was very important. Otherwise, there's a chance that you sort of write something which is not your authentic self, or you write something which is not a fit for the school. So I think that was a big help from TRP.
Hey, Shubhangi, well, I want to say to you, usually while we always advise and help, I think it all comes from the applicants. So congratulations to you on
Thank you.
admits. It just means that you are a stellar human being. I honestly look forward to seeing what you accomplish from here on, because this is just the entry into the club. Now you've got to make a difference in the world. So. All right. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah.
Thank you, Pooran.